Have you ever wondered what would actually happen if Spider-Man suddenly appeared in our world? Not in comic books, not in Hollywood, not in a universe filled with superheroes. Our world, the real world, a place ruled by gravity, biology, physics, and governments that fear anything they cannot control. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, opening your phone, and seeing the same headline on every news channel. Unknown masked man filmed climbing a 70-story skyscraper without equipment. At first, everyone laughed. It's fake. AI generated. Another internet prank. But then, more videos appeared. Different cities, different angles, different people. Security cameras, police helicopters, traffic cameras, thousands of witnesses. There is no editing, no CGI, no explanation. A human being is running across vertical walls, jumping between rooftops, and disappearing before anyone can catch him. Within hours, the internet explodes. Millions of people begin searching for one question. Who is he? Within days, governments stop asking who he is. They begin asking how dangerous he could become. Because this isn't just another superhero. This is something humanity has never faced before. A person who breaks almost every law of nature. Someone who can reach places no soldier can reach. Escape any prison. Sneak into almost any building. Avoid almost any weapon. A single individual who could change military strategy forever. But before any of that, before the headlines, before the fear, before the chase, one question must be answered. Could Spider-Man actually exist? The answer is both fascinating and terrifying. Let's start with the moment that changed everything. The bite. In every Spider-Man story, it begins with a spider. A tiny creature no bigger than your hand. One bite, a few minutes of pain. Then suddenly, superhuman abilities. It's one of the most famous origin stories ever written. But reality is much less forgiving. A spider bite cannot rewrite your DNA. It cannot suddenly increase your muscle strength. It cannot teach your nervous system new abilities. Your body simply doesn't work that way. Every human cell contains billions of genetic instructions. Those instructions are written before you're born. Changing even one gene safely takes years of scientific research. Changing thousands instantly, without destroying your entire body, would be almost impossible. If a radioactive spider bit you today, you probably wouldn't become a superhero. You would become a patient. Most spider bites only cause redness, itching, or swelling. Some are painful. A few are dangerous. But none give people superpowers. So, does that mean Spider-Man is completely impossible? Not exactly. Because nature has already created almost everything Spider-Man can do. Just not inside one animal. Some creatures can lift hundreds of times their own weight. Some stick to walls. Some detect vibrations before they happen. Some produce silk stronger than steel. Spider-Man isn't based on magic. He's based on real biological abilities, combined into one impossible organism. And that's where things become interesting. Let's imagine that science somehow achieved the impossible. Not through radiation, not through magic, but through advanced genetic engineering. Imagine scientists successfully combining human DNA with the biological traits of several spider species. Every cell in your body begins changing. Your muscles become denser. Your bones become lighter, yet stronger. Your nervous system reacts faster than ever before. Tiny microscopic hairs begin forming on your fingertips. Your eyes process movement differently. Your inner ear becomes more sensitive. Every part of your body starts adapting. But evolution always demands a price. Nothing in nature is free. If your muscles became 10 times stronger, your skeleton would have to become stronger too. Otherwise, every punch would shatter your own bones. If your reactions became 10 times faster, your brain would consume enormous amounts of energy. You would constantly feel hungry. An ordinary breakfast would never be enough. You might need 10,000 calories every single day just to survive. Imagine eating 20 hamburgers and still feeling hungry. Now imagine your body producing enough heat to boil water every time you fought crime. Being superhuman wouldn't just make life exciting, it would make survival incredibly difficult. Then there's another problem. Spider-Man can lift cars, catch falling people, stop speeding trains. Sounds amazing until physics enters a conversation. Lifting a car isn't simply about strength. It's about force, balance, and pressure. Imagine grabbing a 1-ton vehicle with your bare hands. Your muscles might be strong enough, but your hands? Human skin isn't designed to support that much pressure. Your fingers would tear. Your joints could dislocate. Even if your muscles survived, your body might not. Nature solves every problem with compromise. If you gain incredible strength, you also need stronger tendons, thicker ligaments, denser bones, reinforced joints, and a cardiovascular system powerful enough to supply oxygen to every muscle. You're no longer becoming a stronger human. You're becoming something else, something humanity has never seen before. And that's only the beginning, because strength is actually one of Spider-Man's least impressive abilities. His greatest power is climbing walls, a feat that seems almost magical. But here's the shocking truth. This ability already exists, not in comics, not in fiction, in nature, every single day. And the science behind it is even more unbelievable than the movies. One of the most iconic moments in every Spider-Man story isn't the web, it isn't the mask, it isn't even the incredible strength. It's that impossible moment when he places one hand against the wall, and gravity simply stops mattering. He climbs straight up, no ropes, no magnets, no visible technology, just bare hands and complete control. It looks like magic, but surprisingly, nature has already solved this problem. Long before humans built skyscrapers, tiny creatures had already mastered them. Take a gecko. It weighs less than a smartphone, yet it can run across smooth glass, hang upside down, and even sprint across ceilings. For years, scientists believed its feet worked like suction cups. They were wrong. The real answer is far more incredible. If you looked at a gecko's foot under a microscope, you wouldn't see a smooth surface. You'd discover millions of microscopic hairs. Each one is incredibly thin, much thinner than a human hair. And every tiny hair splits again into hundreds of even smaller structures. When all of them touch a surface, they create billions of tiny molecular attractions. Not glue, not suction, not magnets, simply the natural attraction between atoms. Individually, these forces are almost meaningless. Together, they become strong enough to hold an entire animal upside down. It's one of nature's greatest engineering achievements. So, could humans evolve something similar? In theory, yes. In reality, the challenge is enormous. A gecko weighs around 70 grams. An adult human can weigh more than 100 kilograms. That's over 1,000 times heavier. To support that weight, our hands would need billions more contact points. Our skin would have to change completely. Forget fingerprints. Forget soft fingertips. Your palms would become covered with dense microscopic fibers. They would probably feel rough, dry, almost like velvet. Every time you touch someone, they would immediately notice. And there would be another problem. You couldn't wear ordinary gloves. You couldn't use hand lotion. Dust, water, oil, or even sweat could dramatically reduce your grip. Rainy weather? Almost impossible to climb. A dusty building? Your powers become unreliable. Nature always comes with limitations. But let's imagine, somehow, your grip is perfect. Would climbing skyscrapers finally become easy? Not even close. Because now, gravity becomes your greatest enemy. Picture yourself halfway up a 60-story building, 200 meters above the ground. One mistake, one tiny slip, and there's nothing below you except concrete. Every movement must be perfect. Every finger placement matters. Your forearms begin burning. Your shoulders shake. Your heart races. Unlike Spider-Man in the movies, you cannot afford a single mistake. Professional rock climbers train for years and still become exhausted after a few minutes on difficult walls. Now imagine climbing an almost perfectly smooth skyscraper for hundreds of meters. It would be one of the most physically demanding activities a human could perform. Then there's another question. How does Spider-Man know exactly when to jump, when to dodge, when danger is approaching? The famous spider sense, perhaps the most mysterious power of all. In the movies, it's almost supernatural. Bullets slow down. Time seems to freeze. Spider-Man reacts before danger even happens. Can that exist? Not exactly. But reality has something surprisingly close. Many animals detect danger long before humans. Spiders don't actually hear the way we do. Instead, they sense vibrations. Every thread of a spider web acts like an extension of its nervous system. The smallest movement, a tiny insect touching silk, even changes in air pressure, can be detected instantly. Some spiders can identify the size, direction, and speed of prey without ever seeing it. Humans already have something similar. Have you ever felt someone staring at you, then turned around and discovered someone actually was, or stepped backward just before something heavy fell from a shelf? Sometimes your brain notices danger before your conscious mind does. Your eyes collect enormous amounts of information every second. Your ears detect sounds you never consciously notice. Your skin senses tiny vibrations. Your brain constantly analyzes everything around you without asking your permission. Sometimes it reacts before you're even aware of the threat. Scientists call this unconscious processing. It's real, it's measurable, but it's nowhere near Spider-Man's level. Now imagine enhancing it. Your hearing becomes several times sharper. Your eyesight detects movement instantly. Your balance becomes almost perfect. Your brain processes information 5 or even 10 times faster. Suddenly, what looked like supernatural prediction is simply extraordinary perception. You don't see the future. You notice details that everyone else completely misses. The slight movement of a finger before someone throws a punch. The tiny shift of shoulder before a gun is raised. The vibration of footsteps around a blind corner. To everyone watching, it looks like magic. To you, it's simply information. But information alone doesn't save lives. Your body must still react. And that's where another impossible challenge appears. Reaction speed. The average human needs around a quarter of a second to react to unexpected danger. That doesn't sound slow until you realize a bullet fired from a handgun travels dozens of meters during that tiny fraction of time. By the moment you hear the gunshot, it's already too late. Realistically, Spider-Man could never dodge bullets after they were fired. Instead, he would need to predict the attack. Before the trigger was pulled, he wouldn't dodge the bullet. He would dodge the decision to fire. That changes everything. It transforms Spider-Man from a superhuman into perhaps the greatest observer who has ever lived. Someone capable of reading human behavior almost perfectly. But even if he could climb walls, sense danger, and move faster than anyone alive, there's still one question that determines whether Spider-Man could truly exist. His web, the single invention that made him legendary. A material so strong, it stops speeding cars, catches falling people, and allows one man to fly between skyscrapers. It sounds impossible until you discover that spiders have been making something even more extraordinary for over 300 million years. What if the most unbelievable part of Spider-Man wasn't fiction at all? What if the strongest weapon he possesses already exists right now inside forests, gardens, and even your own home? Spider silk. At first glance, it looks fragile, a thin thread, almost invisible, something you brush away without thinking. But appearances can be incredibly deceptive, pound for pound. Some types of spider silk are stronger than high-grade steel, not because they are harder, but because they combine two qualities engineers struggle to achieve: strength and flexibility. Steel is strong, Pull it too far, and it breaks. Glass is hard. Drop it, and it shatters. Spider silk behaves differently. It stretches, absorbs enormous amounts of energy, then returns to its original shape. Imagine a rope thinner than a pencil, capable of stopping something moving at incredible speed. Nature built that millions of years before humans discovered metal. Scientists have spent decades trying to copy it, not because they want superheroes, but because spider silk could revolutionize medicine, space exploration, military equipment, and body armor, artificial tendons, surgical stitches, ultralight parachutes, protective clothing, even future spacecraft. One tiny thread could change entire industries. So, why aren't we already making kilometers of spider silk every day? Because spiders are terrible factory workers. Unlike silkworms, they don't live peacefully together. Put hundreds of spiders into one container, and very quickly, you no longer have hundreds of spiders. You have one very full spider. They're territorial, aggressive, cannibalistic. Mass production becomes almost impossible. Scientists tried farming them. It failed. So researchers took a completely different approach. Instead of farming spiders, they stole their blueprint. Spider silk genes were inserted into bacteria, into yeast, even into goats. Yes, goats. Some genetically modified goats were engineered to produce spider silk proteins in their milk. It sounds like science fiction, but it's real, because if humanity could manufacture spider silk on an industrial scale, the possibilities would be endless. Now imagine Spider-Man doesn't rely on mechanical web shooters. Imagine his own body produces silk. Could that actually happen? Technically, yes. Practically, it would completely transform human anatomy. A single spider doesn't simply produce one type of silk. Many species create several different kinds. Some are sticky. Some are incredibly strong. Others are designed to wrap prey or build eggs. Your body would need specialized glands capable of manufacturing liquid proteins, storing them safely, and instantly transforming them into solid fibers. That alone would require organs humans simply don't have. And then comes another problem: quantity. Spider-Man seems to fire endless webs, fight after fight, swing after swing, without ever running out. Reality would be much harsher. Silk is made from protein. Protein requires food, lots of food. Imagine producing hundreds of meters of web every single day. Your body would burn through nutrients at an astonishing rate. You wouldn't eat like an athlete. You'd eat like a wild predator. Entire chickens, steaks, eggs, fish, protein shakes, thousands upon thousands of calories every single day. Otherwise, your web production would simply stop. But let's say you somehow solve that problem too. Now comes the biggest question. Could Spider-Man actually swing between skyscrapers? The answer might surprise you. Forget the web for a moment. The real danger isn't the thread, it's your body. Imagine standing on the edge of a 50-story building. You fire your web. It attaches perfectly. You jump. For one incredible moment, you're flying. The city rushes beneath you. Wind roars past your face. Then, physics takes control. As you reach the bottom of the swing, your entire body changes direction almost instantly. That sudden change creates enormous force, far greater than your normal body weight. Professional fighter pilots begin losing consciousness at around 9 GS. Roller coasters rarely exceed 4 or 5. Spider-Man, during some swings, could experience forces far beyond that. Without extraordinary muscles, reinforced joints, and an almost indestructible spine, his shoulders would likely dislocate. His arms could tear from their sockets. His ribs might fracture. Even holding onto the web could become impossible. Then there's the issue of speed. Swing too slowly, and you crash into a building. Swing too fast, and every turn becomes deadly. One tiny mistake, one slightly weaker web, one cracked window frame, and you're no longer a superhero. You're falling hundreds of meters toward concrete. This is something movies rarely show. Spider-Man isn't simply brave. If he were real, he would need to calculate angles, speed, momentum, and timing almost perfectly every single swing. One mathematical error could mean instant death, but somehow he survives again and again, which raises another fascinating question. If someone with abilities like this truly existed, how long would they remain a secret? The answer, probably not even 1 week, because unlike comic books, our world is watching everywhere. Thousands of surveillance cameras, traffic cameras, doorbell cameras, satellites, drones, smartphones, artificial intelligence scanning faces, license plate readers, thermal imaging. The modern world is almost impossible to disappear inside. Spider-Man's greatest enemy wouldn't be Green Goblin. It wouldn't be Dr. Octopus. It wouldn't even be Venom. It would be the internet. Every jump recorded, every movement analyzed, every appearance mapped. Within days, millions of strangers will begin trying to answer one question: who is behind the mask? And once governments started asking the same question, everything would change, because in the real world, a man with Spider-Man's abilities would never simply become a neighborhood hero. He would become the most valuable human being on Earth. Imagine it's been only 1 month since Spider-Man first appeared. The entire world has changed. News channels no longer report politics first. They report sightings. Spider-Man seen in Chicago. Unknown vigilante escapes police in Tokyo. Mysterious figure filmed on the Eiffel Tower. Every video gains hundreds of millions of views. Children admire him. Scientists are fascinated by him. Governments are terrified because they understand something that the public doesn't. Spider-Man isn't just a superhero. He's proof that the impossible is possible. If one human being can possess abilities like these, then others can too. That thought alone could change the balance of power across the planet. Every military intelligence agency reaches the same conclusion: find him, not tomorrow. Today, his DNA would become the most valuable biological sample in human history. Forget gold, forget oil, forget artificial intelligence. A single drop of Spider-Man's blood could be worth billions. Every nation would want to understand it. Every laboratory would want to study it. Every military would want to reproduce it, not to create heroes, but soldiers. Imagine an army that never needs ladders, never fears walls, never struggles in urban combat. Soldiers who can silently enter buildings, cross impossible terrain, and disappear before anyone realizes they're there. One Spider-Man changes history. 1,000 change the world. And that's exactly why he would never be left alone. People often imagine governments thanking him, giving him medals, calling him a hero. Reality would likely be much colder. The first question wouldn't be, can he save us? It would be, can we control him? Because if the answer is no, then every government has the same problem. One man can enter any military base, any research laboratory, almost any prison, almost any government building. No country on Earth likes having something it cannot control. Even if Spider-Man never committed a crime, his existence alone would be considered a national security issue. Soon, the surveillance begins. Every camera network, every satellite, every drone. Artificial intelligence compares millions of faces. Voice recognition analyzes every recording. Phone locations are tracked. Internet activity is monitored. Friends, family, co-workers, anyone connected to Spider-Man would unknowingly become part of the investigation. The mask would protect him, but only for a while, because the greatest weakness of every superhero has never been their powers. It's the people they love. Peter Parker understood that. That's why he hid his identity, not to protect himself, to protect everyone around him. Because once someone discovers who Spider-Man really is, they no longer need to fight Spider-Man. They simply pressure everyone he cares about And in today's world, keeping a secret like that would be almost impossible. Sooner or later, someone would recognize his voice, his height, his walking style, a tiny scar, an old photograph, one mistake, one forgotten camera, one careless moment. That's all it would take. Then everything changes. No more anonymous hero. Now he has a name, an address, a family, and from that moment on, Spider-Man is no longer free. He's the most hunted person alive. Some people would want to help him. Others would want to sell information about him. Some would worship him. Others would fear him. Conspiracy theories would explode across the internet. Was he created in a secret laboratory? Is he an alien? A government experiment? A weapon? Or the next step in human evolution? No matter what people believed, one thing would become undeniable. The world would never return to normal, because humanity has now seen proof that someone can become more than human. And once an idea like that exists, it can never be erased. But perhaps the greatest danger wouldn't come from governments or criminals or rival nations. It would come from ordinary people, because history has shown that humans are fascinated by miracles right until they're afraid of them. And when fear takes over, heroes often become monsters. Ask yourself one question. If Spider-Man saved your life, would you trust him? Most people would answer, yes. Now imagine he accidentally breaks someone's arm, or destroys a building while stopping a criminal, or someone dies during one of his battles. Suddenly, the headlines change. Is Spider-Man too dangerous? Who will stop the mass vigilante? Should superhumans be illegal? Public opinion changes faster than facts. One viral video, one misunderstanding, one tragic accident, and yesterday's hero becomes today's threat. The same crowds that once cheered for him begin demanding answers. Politicians promise new laws. News channels invite experts every night. Social media splits into two sides. Hashtag Team Spider-Man. Hashtag Stop Spider-Man. Families argue. Friends disagree. Entire countries become divided. Not because Spider-Man changed, but because people did. History repeats itself. Every revolutionary discovery, every extraordinary person, every new idea has always been welcomed with fear, and Spider-Man would be the greatest unknown humanity has ever faced. There is one final question, one question more important than all the others. Not, could Spider-Man exist? Not, could he climb walls? Not, could he stop bullets or swing between skyscrapers? The real question is, could he survive? Not physically, emotionally, psychologically, because powers do not erase humanity. Imagine waking up every morning, knowing that every decision you make could change thousands of lives. Every scream you hear might belong to someone you could have saved. Every robbery, every fire, every collapsing building, every child in danger. You know that you have the power to help, but you also know you cannot be everywhere. What happens when you save one family while another dies just a few streets away? Would you blame yourself? Most people would. Psychologists call it survivor's guilt. Emergency doctors experience it. Firefighters experience it. Soldiers experience it. Now imagine living with that feeling every single day for the rest of your life. No vacation, no weekends, no peace, because crime never sleeps. The moment you stop, someone suffers. Eventually, you begin asking yourself, when have I done enough? The terrifying answer is never. No matter how many people you rescue, there will always be one more emergency, one more disaster, one more life slipping away. And sooner or later, even the strongest person begins to break. Then comes loneliness. How do you build a normal life when the world knows your face? How do you fall in love when every person close to you becomes a target? How do you raise children knowing your enemies might use them against you? Every relationship would carry risk. Every friendship would become a weakness. Every goodbye might be the last. The mask protects your identity, but it cannot protect your heart, because heroes lose people again and again. Then imagine something else. You're getting older. Your body no longer heals as quickly. Your shoulders ache. Old injuries never disappear. The jumps become harder. The swings become slower. Your reflexes fade. Meanwhile, criminals evolve. Technology improves. Weapons become smarter. Drones replace helicopters. Artificial intelligence predicts your movements. Facial recognition identifies you even through your mask. For years, you stayed one step ahead. Now, the world is catching up. One day, you miss a jump, not because you became careless, because you became human. People often imagine superheroes living forever. Reality is much crueler. Every athlete eventually retires. Every soldier leaves the battlefield. Everybody has limits. Spider-Man would be no different. One day, there would be one final swing, one final rescue, one final night, watching the city from above, and then silence. But perhaps that isn't the end of the story, because legends don't survive through strength. They survive through inspiration. Imagine a little boy looking up at the skyline. He never meets Spider-Man. He never learns his real name, but he sees what one person was willing to risk for complete strangers. That memory changes him. He becomes a firefighter, or a doctor, or a rescue pilot. Maybe he saves thousands more lives than Spider-Man ever could, not because he had powers, because someone showed him what courage looks like. And maybe that was Spider-Man's greatest superpower all along. Not the web, not the strength, not the impossible jumps. Hope, the belief that one ordinary person can choose to do something extraordinary. So, what if Spider-Man were real? Science tells us some of his abilities might one day become possible. Stronger muscles, artificial spider silk, enhanced reflexes, wall climbing technology. Humanity is already working on many of them, but the true challenge was never the science. It was always the responsibility. Because the moment one human becomes more powerful than everyone else, the world changes forever. Governments react. Society divides. Fear spreads. And the hero must carry a burden that no ordinary person could ever imagine. Perhaps that's why Spider-Man has remained one of the world's most beloved heroes. Not because he's the strongest, but because, behind the mask, he never stopped being human. So the next time you watch Spider-Man leap across a city, remember this. The most unbelievable part was never the powers. It was finding someone willing to carry them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the science behind superheroes, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in comments which superhero should we bring into the real world next. Because sometimes the most impossible questions lead to the most fascinating answers.